This day came upon me so fast. I've written nothing down. Everybody's like, do you have a speech? Nope. And I'm just going to speak from my heart. So 22 years ago, I was hired. I worked at MES with a little special young lady with Colleen Rush. And it was great. I lost 6 pounds in the first month. Because all I did was run. She was nonverbal, I had to teach her how to speak. She was still in diapers, so I had a trainer. And she ran. She ran, I ran. I got thinner. Thought, hey, this isn't too bad. Then she moved on to a different school. I decided, why don't I go to Thornton's Ferry, right down the street, 4 miles away. Les Carter hired me. I had a great 6 years there. Wonderful time. I was 2nd grade, 4 years in 3rd grade, which I loved. The last year I was placed in 5th grade with Nikki Rowe. And that was the year that I got engaged. And a memory that I will cherish forever. She threw me an engagement party with her class. All the children had to make puppets. And they were going to put on a show. Now, I'm sure she's not going to believe this, but I still have the puppets. Notice the lips with the lips. My lips were looking good back then.
And they still are.
And of course, without every bride, you must have a groom. Paul has more dark hair back then. There we go. So she proceeds to put on this show for me. And it was a bridal party, and it was literally exchanging of the vows. And it came to the point, does anybody not, approve of this marriage? And all of a sudden, all these kids were getting up. No, they can't get married, and no, they can't get married. And this little boy who never spoke, never said a word, he came right up and said, I want to marry Miss Morgan. And they all started, I want to marry Miss Morgan. So needless to say, I couldn't accept all their little invitations. Paul and I did get married. And Nikki, this is like, I'm sure you're laughing, but this touched me. Nikki Rowe made these for me. I still have them. They're in my Paul box. So after a great time there, I moved on to J Muse. And Mr. Morris and Mrs. McGill had the pleasure of coming down and letting the 5th grade staff know we were being transferred to the upper elementary. So we went. I was very nervous. I cried all summer. I actually visited Marge thinking maybe I could talk her into not sending me. She said, no, there's a plan for you. Okay, I went. Okay, who's my supervisor? A Michael Shoup. All right, here's his telephone number. Talk to him on the phone. I said, how am I going to know who you are? I'll be the big guy in the back of the room with the blue shirt. Okay, you got green on tonight. And so, the working relationship started. I worked for Mike for many, many years. He taught me everything I knew about working with behavioral students. I kept going back to school, taking classes. He's a special part of my heart. He always will be. I love you, Mike. And then Mike moved on, and it worked out for his family, and I had the pleasure of working with Dan Gorilla, Mike Jackson, Janie LaFond, and now Mark Tires. And it's been a great 22 years. Staff has been wonderful, the paraeducators, everyone, all support staff, the administration. I just want to thank you very much for 22 years. I've been blessed.
So when we come to all of these, we never think that they will be for us. And I just wanted to thank you all for today because it is surreal. Some of my secrets. So in 1973, I was hired in Methuen, and we played softball, and I can really pitch. I was the person that they kept hid, because I was a math teacher and not a phys ed teacher, and I was their key pitcher that always won it for Methuen Middle against Tenny Middle, because I have a really good sinker over home plate. The other secret I have is, yes, I did apply for Krista McAuliffe. Mary Jean Fawcett and I were 8th grade teachers in Methuen, and we filled out applications, 14-page application, and she sent hers in, and mine is in the file cabinet in the basement, still with stamps. And for whatever reason, I never mailed it. And yet we watched that episode with our 8th grade students that day, and we went to lunch in silence. So, and then my kids, of course, we had to do school projects, and we visited Krista McAuliffe's cemetery at the top in Concord. So those are some of mine. The other piece is, in 1987, Ken Taylor and I played phone tag. So I'm a morning person, can you tell? And he would try to call me, and Kevin would say, oh, she's already left with the kids. And he was always trying to get me on the phone, and whether he'd call Merrimack or he'd call Methuen, I was just always out and about, to the point that my principal came. My principal did not do math class. And he said, you need to take this phone call. And Don Timoney said to me, I said, but Don, you don't do math. And he said, that's okay, you need to take this phone call. And it was Ken Taylor. And Ken Taylor and I got together with Mark Cascadden on a field trip for Canopy Lake, and Mark Cascadden interviewed me. I walked into the school, Mike, and the place was immaculate in June. And I came from an immaculate school like that in Methuen, and I noticed that the way the school looked. And not many people might notice that as you walk into other schools, but I noticed that about Merrimack. I've had the privilege of being brindalized by Mary Lou Brindisi and done parent cookouts. She would just say, let's do it, and we'd do it. I've done Mining the Mountain, where you had hammer and plaster of Paris with Eric, and we did cookouts. We had Linda Tomasian being our auctioneer. I've had principals of Paul Missouri and Marge, Ken Taylor, Tom. I've had Lynn Healy, Deb Wolfline, Adam Carragher, Bill Morris, Marsha McGill. All of these people, majority of us have heard their names or know them. I've had the pleasure of being on a team when it was the old middle school. We were Barnes, Kittredge, and Cummings. So think of the school. The school had 9 teams of 4 teachers. Every classroom was full. And we had trailers out front at some point for 4 classrooms. We had classrooms, teachers on wheels. We had any cubby hole that we could use as a classroom, we used. We had 25-minute lunches, so no sooner did a student leave sitting at that seat, another group sat down. You couldn't even tell them where they were sitting, just whatever place was empty is where they sat. We had, so Mark remembers me doing recess duty in the Oval with my sunglasses always on. Mom never could look at their son, so she always wore sunglasses. And Eric had the pleasure, I don't know if it was a pleasure, but he had the pleasure of having me as an 8th grade math teacher because he gave me a gift where Tom said to me, you can have the choice of going to this team or this team. But if you stay at this team, this is where your son is coming. So I went off to Nelms with, oh geez, Bill, did you come to Nelms? Linda Tamasia and I, we went off to Nelms. Okay, Angel made us calzones that were out of this world. And Kevin and the boys decided if they wanted their mother as a math teacher. And Linda Garstein helped out, so she met for parent conferences and I didn't have to.
There were a lot of parent conferences with Eric.
Yeah.
I could imagine.
When we closed the middle school, there were 1,324 students in that building. 1,324 students. We opened the new middle school, okay, and it was surreal because we were able to go to Washington, D.C. with our first 8th grade trip. And back then, school buses were approaching the airport. You never could have school buses approach an airport. But at 3 a.m. you could in Manchester. And so we would approach the airport at 3 a.m. Steve Rand, myself, Rick Glass. Anybody remember Rick Glass? Nurse Nancy. We were a plane which turned into a bus. And we toured Washington, D.C. And the kids were phenomenal. We just had to have candy for Glass to give the kids, to keep them going. So, but to this day, those trips to Washington, D.C. they are amazing. For what the kids get out of it, and the teachers, that's why they keep on going. I've had one of the other things when I was a housemaster, there was Barb Danute, Bill Vellante, Skip, and there were times when we would walk kids to the courthouse. We'd do that. And then Barb and I decided to take some grad courses. And one of the grad courses, the professor had said to us, you need to sneak into Franklin Pierce College. And we said, how do we do that? Oh, you put a cap on your head, you put a backpack over your arm, and you sneak in. It's just going to be a chickie out front. You just walk around the chickie and you go on in. And so we're sitting there thinking, we're housemasters, we can do that. So we did. So Barb Danute, myself, did exactly what the guy said. Park over here, you won't get a parking ticket. We followed his directions explicitly. And we snuck into the archives of Franklin Pierce and found our answers to our grad papers. And I think that's why he gave us an A. One of the delighted things about doing computers, when I switched to computers, when the new middle school was there, we didn't have badges and we didn't have keys. And at 6 a.m., Tom would be in that building. And you could walk to the middle school, and at 6 a.m., Steve Rand and I would stand outside our cars, and we would hear this sound in the woods like, chagoom. And you would hear this sound, and you knew the doors were unlocked. And we would walk in, run off our papers at 6 a.m. I know, morning person again, only one cup of coffee. Tom would already be there. Peter Bergeron would be there. and we would just start the day at the middle school. When I became technology, Dorinda Gibney, how's that for another name? We were certified as computer people, and there was Skip, Mark, Dorinda, myself, and we had dot matrix, like one line, and then it would print the word. Yep. And so we learned how to do all the computer part. Julia Gower, she Patience of a Saint. So I'm updating computers. How do I do this? Step 1. Okay, I can follow step 1, 2, 3, 4. Write it down. I followed it 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how I got into computers. So I worked summers with Julia and Tom and updated computers. Back then we had a little bit of computers, a little bit of laptops. I worked with Nancy Rose. And Nancy Rose told me that we were getting Office 365. I told her I felt like dancing. Because what it did is it made it equal for all students. And when you could teach computers and you would see kids that would learn Word here in school, but could go home and not have it, and then this student would have it, it wasn't an even playing field for learning. But when Nancy said we're doing Office 365, I was over the moon. I told her I really felt like dancing, and I was thrilled. And to this day I am, because every student can access Office 365 and Word Online, and Mark is shaking his head, yes. But it is what the future holds for the kids. Mark Merrifield is one rare gem, because no matter what, no matter when, anytime I can send him an email and say, so Mark, what about this kid that's saying blah, 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 and here's a print screen? He would fix it. Or anytime I had a stupid question, or as simple as it was for me, he could fix it. And Mark Merrifield holds it all so together, more than I think even I realize. My learning plan, Power School Learning, all those are future pieces for our kids. My learning plan, that's our future, guys. Everything is hitting online. And if you, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm almost 70. We need to get there and get online. My learning plan is our answer for teachers. And Power School Learning, that's our kids. And the more we do for our kids there, I guess I can tell you, that's my heart. So, and Adam Goodman, my third son. So, today I go to pick up donuts. I go to Buckley's, and there's no donuts. I wanted, because Adam was sad yesterday. He just really, he had a hard day. And he's walking up the building with Molly, and they're going to dance. And I'm saying, oh, he needs some donuts. So I go to Buckley's this morning, and the guy said to me, there's no donuts. I said, there's no donuts? What's that gonna do? He has a special donut that he likes. So I picked him up 2 other chocolate croissants, but he has let me mother him. And my 2 boys can shake their hands and say, yeah. From Fitz Fridays of coffee, of 3 creams, 2 sugars, Kathy, 3 kids. You and Adam are 2, that's how you remember it, that's you taught me, I listened. You guys have always taken care of me with all your smiles. You have put up with my mothering. You always give me your energy. I'll miss you. I love you all. Thank you. words of wisdom for you. I know. Just bear with us. So the name of this is
Rocks, corks, and wine. The important things in life. What are the important things in life? How do you know what they are? How do you find happiness? Rocks, corks, and wine. The important things in life is a story that explains in plain words that in order to be happy, we need to pay attention to the important things in life first, and then deal with the lesser stuff later. As good educators, we are citing our sources. We wish to give credit to rocks, pebbles, sand, the important things in life. Before the days of the internet, there was a professor that asked his students to determine the important things in life. So we thought this might be a great time to share our version of the story with all of you.
So we have a container, okay, and we're going to put some rocks in it. And we're going to keep filling it,
those are my
filling
rocks.
it. And I'm going to say to you, is the jar full? No. Okay. Then, go ahead.
Then we're going to add some wine corks into the jar.
Who knows where all these wine corks came from?
You're welcome.
I do.
Pretty sure
I
those are
have
my
more at
corks
home. And again, we're going to ask you, is the jar full?
No. Okay. And so then we have some wine, but we couldn't really put wine in here. So this is sand from Bermuda. So we're pouring it in, and we're going to say to you,
It's going to fill those empty spaces. And again, we ask, is the jar full?
almost getting there. Okay.
We wish you to recognize that this jar is your life.
Your life.
The rocks represent your family, the loves of your life, your own children, especially your daily school children. Things that if everything else was lost and the only thing that remained, your life would be full. The corks are the other things that matter, like your career, your calling, your love for teaching children, and your home. These are important for you and your family.
And the sand is everything else, the small stuff. So between Carolyn and I, we have 68 years working with children. And our advice to you is all this. If you put the sand in the jar first, there is no room for the corks or the rocks. The same goes for your life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Play with your children. Go for a family hike.
Walk on the beach with your loved ones. Read a story to your students at school.
There will always be time to clean the house, mow the lawn, wash your car and paint a room. Take care of the rocks first, the loves of your lives.
The corks, your calling, and your love of teaching are also part of your life.
And remember, the rest is just sand.
We thank you for all the memories of teaching in our careers. As we continue our adventure, oh, the places we'll go.
Helen, I just have one problem with retirement.
Yeah.
There's no days off. Good night, everybody. God bless.
Thank you, everybody. God save.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.